One of the central issues that undermines so many guitar players' development is this total fixation we have on what our fretting hand is doing. Every time we sit down to practice, we're staring at our fretting hand, trying to solve the problems of the fretboard. When in reality, as I think everyone understands on some level, it's our picking hand that is effectively the motor that drives this whole process. And so we need to investigate how we can get the most out of that motor, the different mechanics at play in ensuring that that motor is running as cleanly as possible, so to speak. And in service of that, we have a great masterclass here to present to you. This one's presented by Matt Sickels, who, if you don't know, is one of the most shredding guitar players you're ever going to hear anywhere. He has played with everyone, and it only takes a quick look on his social media to see that Matt can play anything at all in his picking hand. So this class is a exploration of a bunch of the exercises that he has used both for himself and his students over the years to refine picking mechanics. Alternate picking, economy picking, everything is on the docket here. Make sure you get the materials for the class. That's linked below in the description, and we hope that you enjoy this great class from Matt Sickels.
There's all kinds of different ways to pick on guitar. I have spent 25 years investigating all of them, or so it seems. Lots of them. If you've researched me at all or seen any of my videos or anything, just based on going, oh, that guy's teaching the class, let me check it out. You'll see that I play all over the place, stylistically and all kinds of stuff. So I have to explore a bunch of different ways to pick things. A lot of times people instantly start out with alternate picking, which is good because you don't want to just pick all downs or all ups, right? We want to be able to alternate pick. So I think that's a good thing to do. You guys should be doing that like in your front forms and back forms, right? If everyone just wants to shake their head yes, or if they don't know what I'm talking about, right? You guys should be doing that. So I don't want to confuse that with I'm telling you not to pick alternately like you should in those exercises. These are just some different ways to kind of look at things, and there's not really a universal way to do some of these. These are just what I came across that I find helpful to attack the guitar in different string sets in different ways. Sometimes two different rhythms can lend themselves a little bit easier to not be alternate picked, but to be sometimes double downed or double upped. Also just the economy of your motion. So we're going to go over a bunch of those things. Does everyone have the PDF, or it looks like mostly, or anyone who has a guitar that wants to play along? Okay. So the first thing I'm going to do is go through the first thing. You'll notice up at the top, it's labeled section A, and these are called shorts. Okay. These are just little short segments that really help us out with picking. A lot of times when people do an exercise and they do this like full big honkin' scale, you've probably, if you were in my other masterclass, you've heard me say big honkin' before. We're always playing these big honkin' chords and these big honkin' scales. But the technique is usually in a much more smaller microscopic way, right? That we could work on it, really focus on it and master it, and then apply it to the much larger shapes, right? Really simple exercise, pretty self-explanatory. So if you're all looking at that, the basic gist of that is that I want to go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, right? That's alternate. But the thing that's happening is I'm going to be jumping strings. So let me play that for you guys. So I'm playing, just for reference too, this is part of the A minor pentatonic scale. If you don't know what that is yet, that'll also be in there tabbed out showing you. But to keep it easy, I'm going to play on the 5th fret of the B string, the 8th fret with my pinky on the B string, and then the 5th fret of the high E string and the 8th fret as well. So both the B and then the high E string are 5 and 8. Now, if you're watching my pick here, that's alternate picking. So that's pretty simple. But the trick, the part that I'm trying to show you that's happening there, is when I go to cycle it back around and repeat, I have to hop over a string. That's usually where our pick gets hung up when we're doing this stuff, is that little hop over the string. We get off track, or sometimes we don't truly alternate. We'll do, double down or double up. So this is just to help us to hop over that string with that upstroke. So we have the smaller strokes. And what I mean by smaller is that it's tighter, right? I'm not swinging. I'm not like going like this with my pick, right? It's very small radius until I hit that last up, and you can see I pop up over the B string. So there's a little hop there. That's a different kind of stroke. So this exercise helps me exploit that hopping, that string hopping thing. So watch again. All right. Like I said, I understand that that seems boring at first, but that's what you should be focusing on, is that little string hop. That's going to help us out in a moment here when we start to do it across the whole pattern. Remember what I said, using this micro shape here is going to help us focus on the pick more. Whenever we're trying to do this humongous shape and focus on what the pick's doing, usually one is going to suffer. So I'll make these little short exercises, and then I'll take the short exercise through the whole scale so that my my pick already kind of knows what to do, right? It's already kind of practiced this little shape. Have I lost anyone yet? Is everyone jiving, following along? Okay. I don't see everyone with guitars, but I would encourage you, if you do have one near you, to go ahead and follow along. Yeah. And you're not in trouble if you don't. But just to make the most of it for you guys. Okay, so once again, there's that little string hop. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is take the A minor pentatonic scale. If you look at where it says, it's about the third one down there, third line down. It says, let's click on this here. It says D3 B1 sequence. It's the third line down, D3 B1 sequence. Does everyone see that? So that's the third line down. If you don't see that, it's pretty easy to understand. So D3 means down 3, and B1 means back 1. So down 3, back 1. Down 3 strings, back 1. Okay, so here's my whole A minor pentatonic scale. If you don't know this, it's in the tab and you want to follow this. So I have, from the E string down, I have 5-8, then 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, and then the last two, once again, like the exercise, 5-8, 5-8. So once again, 5-8, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7, 5-8, 5-8. Okay, so down 3, back 1. So here's how it goes. I'm going to go down 3 strings, go back 1 string, go down 3 strings, go back 1 string, till I get to the top of the scale. When I go back 1 string, I'm going to have to do that little string hop. Okay, so watch here. Actually, let me turn a little more to the side here. Watch the pick. All right, so that was down 3 strings, 1, 2, 3, and then back to the A string, back 1, right? So down 3, back 1. But in there is that little string hop, right? It's not the same as my normal upstrokes that stay in between the strings. I got to swing out past the string in order to go back up, right? So like I said, that might feel easy, like an easy pattern for that left hand, but the thing you're watching for is that string hop. This is a really, really cool sequence. It's used a lot. When people go to shred and stuff like that, you see them play these blazingly fast things. And every time you watch them, they're not even sweating. They're not breaking a sweat. And that's when I was a kid and I was watching it, I was like, how does everyone play, the people who play so amazingly, how do they do it? And it just looks like it's not hard. The answer is because it's not. Nobody likes that answer, but it's really not. It's always a simple technique that they are exploiting to the nth degree. You guys had a master class with Seth Rosenblum not too many weeks ago, and I caught parts of it where he says that, like B.B. King, I think you guys were going over the three kings, and B.B. King would use what he knew like 110% or maybe 120%. Anyways, more than 100% of that exact thing. So you take Ingve, any of those big pickers like that, like they did this kind of stuff. They would have a sequence, right, that they did, and maybe many sequences, but that's what's making it easy for them to play. So when you see somebody, even if they're improvising a solo, but they start to blaze a line like that, it's usually a sequence for the most part. And it might not be through the entire scale. It might just be a little segment of it, but that's what's happening. So a lot of times when we practice our scales, we just practice them down and back. And we go, well, that, the curriculum said to practice this, so I did it, and now I know it. Now what do I use it for? Right? So this is really cool. You can do this now in every single pentatonic pattern that you have. You have 5 patterns, right? And if some of you don't know the 5 patterns yet, you're still getting through that part of the curriculum, that's fine. You can just practice it in this pattern. But once you know all 5 forms, the pick does the same thing for every single form. That's what's really cool about it, right? So now I'm not just going straight down the scale and straight back up, but also I'm doing this little sequence that I can get faster and faster at. I got the little string hop happening, which is a different kind of stroke, right? Have any of you thought this hard about your picking before? Yeah, sometimes. Okay. Yeah, and a lot of times whenever we have a difficult passage, we got to like break it down and go, okay, well, what's going on here? Why can't I get these synchronized? And for me, if I practice a lot of these things, then when I come across those segments, I don't really get stumped because like, all right, I already have something there that can work for that, that can work for that particular kind of sequence. Okay, so really cool idea. Now, the other part of it is if I descend the scale, right? So now if I descend the scale, that is just straight alternate picking. There's no string hop happening there. It does feel like the upstroke when I go, so now I'm going up 3, back down 1. That upstroke is kind of taking me away from the string I want to get to, but I don't swing it like this, right? If I don't swing the pick out and I keep it nice and short, a nice short stroke, then I can get to that other string pretty quickly. But also remember, that's a big honking pattern, right? I could break that down to just the back 3, right? Or up 3, back 1. So up 3, back 1. And then up 3 again, right? I could practice just that much of it to just get that snap down with my pick. But that feels a lot more like just straight alternate picking, right? So when I went up, I'm alternate picking, but I just got to make sure I focus on that upstroke snap. And then straight alternate. And you guys can hear me accenting that. I'm trying to over exaggerate that right now, and I would encourage you to do that too whenever you start the next sequence. So right, when we go to do that musically, you start to play faster and things like that. That will kind of smooth out. It'll still be there, and that little snap will help us rhythmically. But for the most part, it's going to smooth itself out. The faster you go, you'll emphasize that less and less. Okay? So the other part of this is when I turn it around, I'm going to go ahead and hit that last note once again to start it over. So it's almost like I just think of it as I play it ascending and I finish it. Then I'm going to start it descending on the same note, right? So I get this. Okay, and the reason I do that is because if I just turn the scale around, right? If I get up here, that would be down, up, and then if I go down again, you can see my pick is down and away from the B string, nowhere near the B string. And I'm over exaggerating that, but even if I did a small stroke, right? So I end on down, up, and then I just turn it around, down. I'm down and away from the B string. That's a very hard stroke to get back into the strings, right? So by starting on a down again, down, up, I'm right above the B string. So it's putting my pick in a winning scenario, right? Maximizing my motions. Okay, so once again, here's the exercise. Another rule you can think of to keep it all in play is that you're always changing strings on a downstroke. So every time I start a new string, anytime I start the exercise from low to high or high to low, I start on a down. Anytime I'm changing strings, I'm starting on a down. Okay. Have I lost anybody yet? Nope. Seems like everyone's catching on to it. Now, like I said, if you haven't tried to play this yet, it seems pretty simple, but when you try to play it, it's actually hard to keep some of these rules in play, and especially when you start doing it at higher velocities of speed. You'll notice you got some speed. You've also got a cool sequence to play. Now, there's many sequences. I mean, they're endless, right? So this is just one that I've come up with that I like to practice, that I think I got it from like Warren DeMartini from Rat or something 80s, right? But the principle of it really struck me and has really helped me out a lot with my playing. All right, so I'm going to keep it moving. Okay, I'm just looking over my notes here, making sure I didn't miss anything. All right, cool. So let's go down to the bottom of the page. So everything, all that ink up there, that's everything we've talked about so far, just so you know we're not skipping anything. There's just the small fragments up at the top and then the larger shapes in the center there. We go down to the bottom. Okay, now this is not in the Sonora curriculum, okay? Though I'm a mentor and I teach the Sonora curriculum and help people with it too, these are my Game Genie cheat codes that I picked up myself, and nobody taught them to me. I just discovered them over the years, okay? So what I want to start with is a C major triad. I call this, you might see like back form and front form on the Sonora site in curriculum. That's fine. I'm just going to show you what I think about when I think of these, okay? So don't be going to your mentors being like, well, Matt taught us differently. These are Matt's cheat codes, okay? So you're getting the good stuff. But these are just what I've discovered over the years, okay? So I'm going to take what I call a left arpeggio, a C major left shape. The reason is that's what they call the back form. It looks like left to me, okay? And I have a left, I have a middle, and I have a right. So that's why they have 3 different titles. So from the 8th fret of the low E string, that's a C. I'm going to play that with my 3rd finger, okay? And it's important to keep the fingering and the picking together in this. That's also in the PDF if you just want to follow me for now. Okay, so I got my 3rd finger on the 8th fret. I'm going to put my middle finger on the A string 7th fret, and then I'm going to put my index finger on the D string 5th fret. So I got this little like staircase going on here, okay? If you guys have made it through some of the curriculum, you've seen like the triads going like this, right? In one of the first few modules that they do. So this is, to me, if I grab a root, if I grab a C root, that is my left shape. Moves to the left of that note, okay? Now, when I pick that, what I'm going to do is go down, down, up. So many people might call this economy picking or sweep picking. I just think of it as that's what the picking I use for when I'm crossing 3 strings and playing 1 note apiece. Down, down, up. So I go down, down because I went down and I'm already headed towards that string. So I might as well pick down again, right? But this time I need to string hop. There it is again. So I had down, down, which looks like a push through or a sweep, right? But the second one isn't a push through. The second one is a stroke that hops around that string. So it's sweep, stroke, push through, pop. Okay, and then I come up on the D string. The reason is because depending on where I want to go from there, and we will go somewhere else from there, but right now, if I just want to go backwards, this is the note that takes me back the other way, right? So if I just played it ascending and descending, I have this. So once again, but like I said, I want to avoid, if you guys can see my pick here, I'm going to go push through, I think about sweep picking and economy picking like if you were standing on the or standing on the roof and it gave way and then you landed on the next floor and then it gave way and you landed on the next one, right? So when I push through, I want to rest here, and I'm over exaggerating that right now. It doesn't have to be that aggressive, but I'm pushing through and resting on that next string, but then this one pops out because I'm trying to hop over that string and then come up. So down, down, up. You can just mute your strings too and play that. So it's a sweep and then a pop. Got a question there, Peter?
Yeah. Is it necessary to use the third finger? Can I just use my pinky like I naturally would?
Ooh, like you naturally would.
I'm a natural pinky user, my friend.
I'll put it this way. We're not done. There's another part of the equation in which I would recommend that you don't use it. Now, if we get through the whole exercise and you're like, screw Matt, I'm going to do my own thing. Hey, totally. I encourage you to do your own thing. But like I said, there's another part to the equation. So right now, because we don't know that other part, yeah. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, were you saying something, Juan? Juan's over here talking crap. Just kidding. Yeah, you talk a lot of smack when you're on mute, don't you, Juan? So what I'm going to do is walk you through all this stuff, okay? I want you to follow along with me the best you can. My hope is that you'll have it off the paper. And then like 2 days from now when you're like, oh, crap, what did Matt say? Like you can go back to PDF. But if you have it off the paper, you can sit down later tonight or first thing tomorrow. You can sit down when it's fresh in your head and just begin to practice. Right, and just keep these picking things in motion. But I know it's a lot of different details, so the picking details are in the tab as well. But I'm going to walk you through it right now. So let me go ahead and show you the next part before I field another question. So Peter, this one's for you. So like I said, this is a left shape to me. So if I take that was 8, 7, 5. So I'm 8 on the low E once again, 7 on the A, and 5 on the D. I made a little staircase there. Sound like who's the painter? Bob something? Bob Ross? Made a nice little staircase here. Put some trees around it. I'm just kidding. Okay, so that's my shape. Now, if I take this staircase, okay, now watch me carefully, guys. I'm going to take my third finger. I'm going to go down 2 strings. So now I'm on the D string, and I'm going to come towards myself or yourself 2 frets. So now I'm on the 10th fret. So I was on 8, I played my little staircase to the left, I drop down to the D string, and I move over towards myself 2 frets. Okay, now we all know, hopefully, by tuning our guitars, that the B string is the worst thing that ever happened to this planet, right? Because it has that little shift forward in it. It sucks. So if I take my same little staircase shape and apply it here, I get this, which is the Simpsons, and it's not a major sound, okay? So what I'm going to do, or it is a major sound in a way, but anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move that B string note over. So to me, that still looks like a left shape from this root. That is going to the left, and I can walk down the stairs just like I did over here. So that shape to me is the same thing. This is just moved in because of the B string being the worst thing ever, right? Okay. So now I've got 2 arpeggios that I'm going to connect. So once again, my picking for the first one was down, down, up. So, and it's sweep, right? Or economy pick, push through, and then pop out, up, right? That upstroke, you'll notice, turns your wrist back this way, ready to go down. So when I go to my next octave, I got this. And I'm hitting that next octave with a down. Then I start it again. I go down, down, up, right? So to my hand, that feels like the same thing, other than the B string. But like I said, the more we play guitar, we start to getting used to just adjusting for the B string, right? Just always accommodating the B string because it's so annoying. Do we have any questions so far? So that's 2 octaves of the left shape. I moved it by thinking of where the root was, down 2, over 2, and then I pull the B string shape in. This is also helping you learn your triads, not just picking. So that's cool, right? Now, the problem is I bought 6 strings on this guitar and I've only played 5. So if I just bar that first finger down, that's another root, right? Whatever I played on the low E happens on the high E string, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to alter my picking for a second. My picking is normally down, down, up. But since I'm going to go to that last string, I'm just going to go down, 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 down all the way through. Another thing we could do is go down, 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 up. Just depends on what you want to play next. Let's say I'm just playing from root all the way down. Then I can just use those as all downstrokes. In a way, I can just sweep those, right? I can just push through. The idea with the sweep, though, is I want to make sure I'm not holding it like a chord. Necessarily. Maybe you wrote a song and you want it to sound like that. But if we're just trying to separate the notes... So I have my short shape, right, that helps my pick memorize this. Down, down, up. And that's sweep, pop, up. Sweep, pop, up. And the pop is a down, right? Sweep, jump the string like we talked about earlier, up. But if I want to play all the way down to the last string, just straight, you can see I'm just... And I follow the pick with my fingers here. I try not to let it all ring out like this, but I'm just kind of moving my fingers with the pick.
Do you have any suggestions for those of us still working on our fretting hand from moving from the first position to get that ring finger down to the second position?
Let me see here. Who's talking to me? I'm trying to see. I got
Hashim.
quite a lot of... What's it?
Hashim.
Hashim. I don't see you on here. Hashim.
I have a red Epiphone.
Gotcha. You mean just the position shift that I was just talking about?
From the first triad to the second to get close that gap in.
Yeah, very good. Now, like I said, I'm showing you guys this entire thing. But perhaps when you're practicing, you're not ready for the whole thing. So I'm showing you the whole thing to, 1, answer Peter's question, 2, it's on the sheet, right? But what I would do if I were you, anytime I'm working on a transition, I work up to that point. So I wouldn't worry about the rest of the shape if this is no good, right? Another thing is everyone practices, not everyone, sorry, that's a broad stroke. A lot of people will practice like this. They'll go... And they like zip through this part, but then they have this pause here. So anytime I witness that, the problem is it being steady. The problem isn't that you can't do it fast. The problem is you're not doing it steady. You're doing this part fast and then having to slow down for that gap. So take it at a slower tempo to where you can place it in time perfectly. So maybe I practice it like this. And if I catch myself going... Well, I think we all heard that was a little late. So I need to go even slower. And that's okay. There's no shame in the slow game, okay? If you need to take it slower, the point is I want to do the exercise right. The more times I do it right, it's going to start to get synchronized, right? And then my playing will be more consistent, you know? When I go out to do gigs and things like that, or I go to execute these kinds of things, I've already practiced those kinds of things a lot and with good repetitions. So yeah, if you find yourself kind of slopping it up a little bit, take it a little bit slower. Okay. Everyone's always in a hurry because we're shredders. Okay. And some of us might be able to do this really quickly right now, but once again, it's not that you did it quick. It's that you did it right, which is with this picking.
Can I ask you a quick question, Matt, so looking at the sequence, there's only one upstroke. So is that because the upstroke just is smoother to getting down to the
sorry, tell me where you're at here again. I see we're on that arpeggio.
Yeah. Like you're going down, down, up, and then
up.
all the other strokes are down except for that one upstroke on the D string. Is that because it's a smoother transition down to the higher register, or up to the higher register?
Yeah. Yeah. So literally, like I said, at the top of the class, like kind of the whole point was a lot of people struggle with picking and technique, and sometimes are inconsistent with that. So by practicing your arpeggios, your scales, anything with this purposeful technique, you can start to memorize that. And then every time sorry, the word I'm looking for is come across these types of sequences, you've already kind of practiced those things. So yeah, the double downs and not alternating, right? So if I went down, up, that's perfect, right? That worked out great. I went down, I hopped the string, and I went up. But now I've gone up and away from that D string. Then I go down, right? Then I'd have to start on an up on the root. So rhythmically, this will come into play by them being downs on strong strong notes of the triad, right? Strong notes of the beat. Sometimes in jazz, you'll hear that. Like we need to play on strong note, play chord tones on strong beats, and you'll hear all kinds of stuff. So rhythmically, we don't always think of this too. We'll practice these shapes, but then when we go to do them as triplets or 16th notes, like it becomes troublesome. So this is just what I've experimented with over a few decades now, going, you know what, this is the best way most of the time. So there's the shape, right? And if I practice it just in this shape, I went down, down, up. So then go backwards, it's up, up, down. And there's that little string hop again, right? That up, down, where I got to go past the string. So it's up, up, that's a sweep, up, up, but I string hop and then down.
Got it. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So right at the beginning of these exercises, it's showing you those little short snippets. Those are great things to practice. Then on the next page, you'll see the much larger shapes happening. Okay. So it's really cool. That's a cool way to think about it. Now, you don't always have to, if you're creative with music, which we all hope to be, we're probably not going to just play arpeggios straight up and down unless it's like a part of a piece, or you play a classical piece, they tend to do those things. But you might just be wanting to get through your ideas faster, just develop some speed. We all like to have that fifth gear if we can, we don't have to play fast all the time, but if we can have it, we'll take it, right? So these are just to help with those kinds of scenarios. So it doesn't mean that you got to do this exact exercise when you go to perform. You might come across other things, but if you get into a picking scenario where you're like, okay, I'm kind of stumbling on my pick. Why can't I play this quickly? Resort back to this thought process. Okay, how can I maximize my motion? Sometimes for me, it's thinking one more note ahead. Where am I going to next? Oh, okay, so if I do a double up, that's going to put my pick on a down, and then I practice that, right? So it's not always about truly alternating, but about maximizing our motion and going in the direction of the next note you want to play.
Is that jump up in position why you're not using the pinky to start?
Bingo. And that's just my personal preference. If you can play it with your pinky, make sure you video that and share it with your mentor, and they can put it in the love channel that we all share and show some wins and stuff. So you can do it if you want to, but to me, I don't want to play the pinky here and then do my third finger here. Just feels different to me. Also consider you're going to play higher and higher up on the neck, right? What happens as we go higher up in the neck? We start to omit that pinky real quick. So I'll actually try to play as much third finger and I don't want to say as little pinky, okay? But things that I play down here that I might play up here later, I'm going to have to change that fingering anyways. And it's not that easy. If you've played something with these particular fingers all the time, it's kind of hard to change. So I like this. I like my hand learning one thing and then me permutating it into another thing. But like I said, feels different to you than it does to me. So if you can make it work and you want to switch fingers, that's fine. The most important thing is that you see this shape. Think of them as dots, right? Instead of fingers. Just as long as you see where those dots are supposed to be, right? And then I go down 2 over 2. B string just is the worst thing ever. So I pull that in. But that to me is still left of the arpeggio. Down 2 over 2, pull this in, and then I cap it off with whatever I did on the high E, I can do on the low E. So now I got this cool 2-octave arpeggio shape. Does anyone have any questions about the left shape? Okay. The next two are fairly simple to understand. This next one's the easiest one of all time. Perhaps I should have started with this one, but I like to go left, middle, right. So too bad. Don't care. No, I'm just kidding. All right. So we're going to start with our middle. This one's nice because it's called middle, and I start with my middle. So you're going to put your middle finger on the 8th fret on C. Now I'm going to play yet another C major arpeggio, but this time in 3 octaves, but starting with the middle finger. So it'll be middle finger on the 8th fret of the low E, index finger on the 7th fret of the A, and then my pinky on the 10th fret of the A. Okay, so the difference between these two arpeggios are not just the shape, the left and the middle, but this was 3 strings. This took 3 strings to achieve. This is on 2 strings. You've got 2 notes on the same string. So that's a different thing, right? Different thing for my pick. So once again, I'm going to start out with the sweep. I'm going to go down, down, right? Just straight through that, and then up on the pinky note. So down, down, up. Pretty simple. Nice little loop you can do there, right? If I go backwards, that's down, up, up. You could also just alternate this one. It feels all right. Down, up, down. So I think, let me play it real quick. I'll do it a few different ways. You can also use some pull-offs and stuff. But like I said, the point of the exercise is to do it this exact way every time. So I would say do the sweep this way, like it says on the chart, down, down, up, and then alternate going back. Because alternating going back, I already go down, up, and I string hop, puts me here. So that makes the most sense. Also rhythmically. You can do these as different rhythms. Some on the chart I just did as certain rhythms so that they would like group together well. So I would encourage you to do them as 8th notes, do them as triplets, 16th notes. Has everyone got that shape there? Okay, then I do my trick again. I take the middle finger root, I go down 2 over 2. Now I'm on the 10th fret. I play that exact fingering shape because the B string isn't involved yet. Same thing, down, down, up. Then when I go backwards, down, up, down. And notice when I'm looping it like that, playing that small section, I'll play it to completion, and then I start on that last note again. So I'm not just turning right around, okay? That's a different thing. So play to the last note, and then I start over on a down. Looks like Peter's already flying all over the board there, man. What's going on? Do you see where we're going next, Peter?
I'm anticipating that we're going to go up 3 octaves, right?
Oh, man. How did you know?
Right?
Yeah, buddy.
Not loud
Yeah,
enough, though, right?
Needs more
With the
flanges.
shape. What?
No, it sounds great. It sounds great. Yeah, that's the idea. That's the idea. Now, I hear a little bit of some string noise in there too. So just kind of following behind. I know we're still working on it, practicing it too, but just kind of following behind like we talked about earlier. But yeah, so I went down 2 over 2. That gave me my next octave. Then I go down 2 over 3 because once again, the B string is the worst thing ever. So you go down 2 over 3, but yet I play the same shape again. So my left hand learned one thing, my picking hand learned one thing, and then the B string is the only thing we have to consider. Same thing with the shift, right? Take it slower. If you find yourself going, right, you don't want that. You want it nice and smooth all the way through. So I'll play. Now notice when you go to play the 3 octaves, I don't have to play up and then back. You can. But I could also just play all the way up and then all the way back. So Okay. And all of this is on that PDF. I don't mean to scramble here. I just know that we're getting towards the end of the session here. So I'm going to go ahead and do a demonstration of the final one. Okay, so that everyone can resource this back on the video. It's also on the tab, but you get the picture, right? So there's a shape. I'm moving it in octaves. The B string is the only thing I have to consider that it's adjusting my original shape normally, or there's just a shift, right? So these 2-string ones are nice because they're even. So as soon as I get to the B string, it's not happening like midway through my shape. It's happening at the beginning of my shape. So it's just moving the whole shape up. Whereas that 3-string one, it was happening during my shape. So therefore, my shape was altered. Okay. So here's the right shape. If I play my index finger on 8 and my pinky on 12, I've played 2 notes on the 1st string. We haven't done that yet, right? It was three strings singularly, and then it was 2 notes on the 2nd string. Now it's 2 notes on the 1st string, and then I play 10 with my middle finger on the A string. Okay. It goes down to, I take the index finger down 2 over 2, play the same shape. Then I go down 2 over 3. I'm on the 13th fret now, same shape. So altogether, I've got 8, 12, 10. And then right underneath that middle finger there on 10, that would have been down 2 over 2. I go down and beside it to the 13th fret. I'm going to give everyone just a moment to kind of play through that a little bit, and then we'll wrap it up.
Can you repeat the 3rd octave?
Sorry, where the frets were?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so each one was down 2 over 2, and then it'll be down 2 over 3. And I'm thinking about when I'm saying down 2, I'm thinking about where that first note was, whatever finger played that first note, right? So I'll be 8th fret, then I'll be down 2 over 2 on the 10th fret, and then down 2 over 3 on the 13th fret. The picking for that one's nice. It's just straight alternate.
Straight alternate. Don't you down when you come down?
I'm sorry, one more time.
You're going down, down, up, down. So you're doing 2 downstrokes in a row, right?
I'm just making sure I'm looking at the right one here.
So
yeah, sorry. When you're playing the full shape, yes. That's notated there. That's what I was saying. That's notated in the tab there when you play through the whole shape. What I mean is truly alternate is just this small chunk. Sorry. That's just alternate. When you start going to other strings, you'll see in that chart, like I said, we're running out of time, but you'll see in there, you'll do a double down some places in there because of where you're headed. But if I'm going to play just this chunk, that's alternate. Right? Now, like I said, these aren't the unbreakable rules of the universe. These are just things that I've come across because I don't find alternate picking to be the only way to do things. Okay? It's good for certain things, but I guess what I'm trying to say is most of the time I'm trying to think of a better way to maximize my motion of my pick. So hopefully these exercises will help you. Like I said, and this is just my way of visualizing the neck. Don't go getting on your mentors about that I called it left, middle, right. That's just my thing. I've never seen or heard anyone else talk like that before. That's just what I come across, what makes sense to me. That's just helping me keep the shapes in order. But notice I'm playing the same triad 3 different ways. That's huge, right? That's what makes guitar really hard. Is there's so, piano. It's like here's a triad, then here's the inversion, right? But it's like the same shape all the way up. You see a piano player play arpeggio and they just rattle it up and rattle it back. No offense to them, but they did one. It was one thing and they just repeated it. So I'm trying to make that as much like piano as possible, where I can play mostly the same thing. Like I said, the B string ruins the entire process, but it's not far off, right? Just make a minor adjustment and you're off to the races. Okay. Now, if you experiment with these shapes, but you find a different way of picking it to be more comfortable, more power to you. You know what I mean? And send me a PDF and share with me, since I shared with you. No, I'm just kidding. These are just my experiments. These are just things that I've come across. So when I practice these by themselves, when I get into scenarios where I need to cross strings in that certain way, or the notes are grouped in that certain way, one note a string, right? Or two on the second string, or two on the first string. When I get into those scenarios, I'm able to be a little bit more consistent, okay? So I don't know how much picking you guys have focused on. Like I said, everyone else seems to do different things with it, but it can really be a game changer in your playing. If I were to practice one thing from tonight, right? There's a lot to absorb. If I were to practice one thing, I would say the most important thing I showed you was the pentatonic pattern, right? The down 3 back 1 and the little string hop that's right at the beginning of the thing. So if you missed that, make sure you watch this back and watch that first part of the video. I think I don't want to say that it's the most important. I just think it's the most useful. I think a lot of people play more pentatonic than they do arpeggios, but coming from somebody who plays a lot of arpeggios or either or both, but I do a lot of arpeggio based playing, these picking patterns tend to help me out a lot.